This is Charlie Mike, the podcast. Veterans helping veterans, talking about things happening in the veteran community, things we've experienced and overcome, such as addictions, PTSD, depression, legal trouble. And we also promote veteran-owned businesses. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. This is Charlie Mike, the podcast.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Charlie Mike, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Raul, and your co-host, William.
Welcome back, everybody. It's so great to be here. I love this place.
Man, that was a mosquito that bit me. I was wondering what it was because anyways. So what's going on, bro?
Man, bro, life is good and I am blessed. Like it's busy out here, these last couple of months and these months coming up ahead. There's a lot of events planned, there's a lot of stuff going on right here in Houston, Texas, in your veteran community, and it's been fun lately.
It has been, huh?
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is, and I want to go ahead and put it out there. If you're not aware, September 30th is the Houston Veteran Business Expo here in Houston, Texas, at HCA Campus West. If you're interested in more, you can go check our friends out at the Houston Regional Veterans Chamber of Commerce. I know it's a mouthful. Trust me, I say it way too much. But yeah, man, it's exciting. It's nice to see the city of Houston recognizing the veteran business owners out there, because a veteran-owned business is a minority-owned business, and we have what it takes to run successful businesses.
That's true.
Yeah, we're learning about that on the fly.
That's what's up, man. You got to hear one of my favorite people in Texas.
Yeah,
in U.S. Mattress Mac.
Yeah, bro, Mattress Mac was phenomenal. So again, if you're a veteran, you get involved in your community, there's a boatload of events, and this was one of those events that was held by Combined Arms, which is a nonprofit here in Houston, getting veterans connected to resources they need. It was called the Christian Luncheon, and Mattress Mac came in. He talked a lot about faith, just having faith in yourself, having faith in your family, having faith in your friends, being there for one another, that there is value in work. And then it was like, get to work, because you can't just sit at home and do nothing. There's no value in that. You got to get up, you got to push yourself. And it was, it's nice to hear a man that successful continually to thrive and be around that community. And it's like, no, we want to help more people. I want to put more people to work. All right, man.
One thing, Mattress Mac, he just I say the real godfather of Houston, the real mayor of Houston.
Yeah.
I also say that he's a real faith in loving man. And it spoke his moves during Hurricane Katrina.
That's right.
And the things that he did during that time, unlike other people who claim to be faithful in the city of Houston.
Yeah, the anniversary went too long ago. That was 5 years ago. And if you're not aware what we're talking about, Hurricane Harvey came through Houston and everything flooded. And Mattress Mac was quick to open up his doors and say, hey, come join. You can sleep on the beds. You can sleep on the couches. And, he did talk about that. He was like, it's no brainer. It was absolutely no brainer. I didn't even think about it. I was like, my people of Houston are suffering. They need a place to stay. He opened up the doors. And then he goes, everybody asked, so what'd you do afterwards? He goes, I cleaned it up and I had a sale. What'd you think I'd do afterwards? They're like, yes,
Yeah.
there is it's awesome, man. That guy's awesome.
He's my guy, man. I look forward to getting a picture with him soon enough.
Yeah.
I might have to go buy some take 3 loans out and go buy some furniture at Gallery Furniture. But
hey, man, you never know. If you pay what you'll get it for free.
Yeah, man.
And what's great is, we have some wristbands that say Veteran Lives Matter, and we have some that say No One Fights Alone. And I did give him one, and he put it on right away because he really does a lot for the community. He absolutely loves veterans.
Yeah, man. With that, brother, let's go ahead. Let's before we do that, you got anything coming up, man? You want the people to know about?
No, not really.
No?
I can't think of anything that you might be thinking of.
I don't know.
Do I have something?
I don't know. Do you? All right, man. Let's introduce our guest. Our guest is Jerry Lozano, aka J-Deuce. J-Deuce was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. He don't look it though, but he was in the Marine Corps for 20 years and multiple deployments. Man, you tell us about this. God, what's
Come
up?
on, guys. First of all, happy to be here, man. Just retired this year. Feels good. To be a free man. It hits a little bit different. We all dream about the day you get that DD 214. And then on top of that, when you get that freedom, and on top of that, little pension and everything, it's good. Got my little ceremony and everything. So yeah, blessed. Definitely not something that I saw, in my future when little PFC Lozano joined, but we're here, man. 20 years later, a whole lifetime later, and here I am, finally moving on to the next chapter of my life.
Man, it's crazy, man. It's awesome to see everything, or to see what we follow you on social media, man. Just to see that, I guess, a different express. You look happier, man. I think we talked about it a little bit offline. You look happier. You look, I guess, less stressed, man. You know what I mean? So it's a good look, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, and honestly, those last few months were the most stressful, because the realization that, holy shit, I gotta figure out what I want to do when I grow up, and like every part of it, man. And veterans out there, you guys will all relate, whether you're analytical like me and actually break it down and see what happened or not. You can relate to this, in every part of the struggle. I don't know. I did an internship before I got out. I did about 2 months learning how to be a realtor. The Marine Corps calls it the skill bridge program. I'm not sure what the other services call it, but they all have some similar. And during that time, it was a lot of work from home, right? Real estate's a lot of just work on your own. So, sometimes I don't only go in and train for about 2-3 hours a day. Some days it would be longer, right? Especially weekends. But I was home with my wife, who I love, and we love each other and everything. But when you're not used to spending that much time together, it's a curveball. It's a curveball. So, everything as simple as that, you know what I mean? The kids too, the kids they fall into a routine, right? Yep. They know what to expect from me when and if they can. I might be deployed. I might have duty, blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden, when I'm like, hey, here I am, right? I'm telling my daughter, I'm in her face. I'm like, hey, I'm going to get you up every morning, and I'm going to, cook you breakfast, but that also turns into me being a parent and imposing my structure for her, right? Like, no, like little things, right? Hey, you got dressed. I know you clean your room every day, but before you leave, trash into taken out, pick up that pick up that hanger and those shoes that you decided not to wear, put them back. Like little things like that annoy the crap out of her because she's used to the way my wife does it, right? So all those little things, even just starting from the people that are close to you and you love, creates that little bit of friction that you have to get used to it. Now, add on, work, trying to figure out what you're going to do, trying to, putting together my whole retirement ceremony, like all that stuff, just all at once. Yes, the last 6 months, I've never been stressed like that for that long period of time ever in my military career.
Wow.
And like I had an eye twitch, bro. Like it was and I'm one thing you'll know about me is I'm a no high highs, no low lows. I don't let things get me down, right? On the worst day, I'm down a little bit. And if I win the lottery, well, people are, would be running down the street butt naked, high-fiving the neighbors, I'd probably just be like, oh, hell yeah, I made some money. Like I control myself there, right? So for something to get me that stressed is not very common. But it was just that all those important things just kind of piled on, and it was stressful, man. And what you see now is me on the other side of that. Finally, things settle down. I can finally see the light at the. It's no longer just a plan. I'm actually executing it, and I'm on course, which takes all the pressure off at that point.
Yeah, man, damn.
There's a lot to break down there, but hey, Charlie Mike Nation, I want you guys to know, like, there is a gap there that you can take advantage of if you know you're getting ready to transition, called skill bridge, and it's the same across all the Department of Defense. I was just talking to a guy last night about it. He was kind of wondering about what if he should do it. Basically, what it is you can take an internship for a company. There is a lot of red tape and paperwork into it, but obviously, J-Deuce will tell you it's worth it because you get
it's not that bad. And a quick shout out to SkillBridge, and just because I really went through it right now, and talking to other staff non-commissioned officers, they don't know about it because you really can't know about someone until you go through it, right? So that's kind of a gap there where you really can't tell your Marines or your soldiers or whatever about it, because you don't really know about it. You just know what, little quick presentation you get about it. But it's up to 6 months, right, of an internship or training. Some of them, if they provide training and a certification, you'll actually use some of your GI Bill, but which is fine, because a lot of these are like, you get a certification in 3 months that typically takes a year or 18 months for civilians. But with you, they take into consideration some of the training you already have, and they kind of sign a lot of stuff off and give you the sped up version. Others are just like I said, just an unpaid internship. Matter of fact, they can't pay you. That's part of the order. If you go do an internship somewhere, they cannot pay you, because you're getting paid by the military to be there. But one thing many people don't know, if you go to, I believe the website is like skillbridge.dod.com, something like that. If you look up Skillbridge DOD, the website comes up. You can search for your area, what programs are available, right? And it's all these companies that already did the paperwork ahead of time, so it's a little bit easier to get in there. But what I learned is that you don't have to do those Skillbridge programs, right? There was only one for real estate that I found on there, and it was a brokerage that I had never heard about, didn't know anything about. Looked it up. They didn't seem that big, or that, it really wasn't where I wanted to go, but it was the only one that was available. Well, all it took is reading, right? Military orders are very, literally black and white. And if you just do a little bit of reading, which we suck at doing, we all just go by our buddy told us. If you read into it, I found out that you can do a Skillbridge internship with any company, as long as they agree to the terms of the Skillbridge program. So literally, I was able to get trained by one of my very close buddies who had just retired a year before, retired sergeant major, who's doing great in real estate. I was able to just go, under him, and we signed the paperwork. It's literally one extra sheet, one extra page of paper. Well, two, one that the company signs and one that you have to submit. Goes along with the rest of the package that normally goes with any Skillbridge you do. You just add that page on there, and all it is them agreeing to, hey, they're gonna keep accountability of you. If you start showing up, they're gonna let Skillbridge know. And it asks for like basically a breakdown of what they're gonna teach you. So literally just a list of things. Hey, these are the things he's going to train on. These are the basic hours that we're going to demand of him, and this is what we offer afterwards, right? Whether it's offer them like an actual job, or offer them whatever, a certification, whatever it is. That's all it is. But you can literally do Skillbridge with any company. And then one last thing, because I'm really selling this thing, I guess. But I'm in California. If I was gonna go move back to my home state, and let's say my home state was Florida. Matter of fact, I know a guy that's in Florida right now. I could literally do my Skillbridge in Florida if that's where I'm going to end up, right? And there's just certain things you have to do, like get all your stuff done before you leave. But literally 6 months before your actual EAS, you would get out and you're gone. You're in Florida. You're out. You have all your paperwork, everything done, and you're in Florida for 6 months, still receiving your paycheck from the Marine Corps or from the military. And then once your EAS hits, paycheck stops. You move on to whatever job you're actually going to do, and it's very seamless. But you have to really start getting ahead of that. I would say probably a good 18 months out, so you can. A lot of times, if you give your chain of command a heads up, there's no reason why they wouldn't approve it. If you tell them last minute, that's where you get somebody who's like in charge of manpower is going to say, no, dude, I can't afford to let you go. We need you for this, or we need you for that. But if you give them, 18 months, or if you give them, a year in advance notice, there's no reason why you can't do it.
Yeah, man. That's I'll be honest, I never heard of it.
Yeah.
And if I did, when I was getting out, I was just more concentrated about getting out than anything.
So of course we're hyper local. So if you are in Texas, San Antonio has a great person there, Joint Base Fort Sam Houston. So if you're looking, like, it's definitely that thing that you got to research, but it is worth it, because he just said it. You can kind of go, you can intern, you can try something new. Obviously, it's not like we sell real estate here in the military, but if it is you're interested in, it's something that you could try basically for free to you. It's for free to the employers, and if you don't like it, then you can do something different.
Yeah, even if it's just something to get back used to working with civilians, that's a big key. There's some that they might teach you how to do like welding or 3D printing or something crazy like that, right? Go do that. Learn it, even if you don't plan on doing it. You never know, you might like it. But the biggest thing is you'll go through a school, you learn some stuff, you'll get to work with civilians, And now, when 6 months from now, when you actually have to hold a job down, you're no longer, culture shocked, and you're no longer, getting fired from, being too mean to your peers and stuff like that, because you actually got a little introduction to the civilian world again, and it just sets you up for success. So even if at a minimum to get out of your unit for a little bit and decompress a little bit, even if you just do it for that, it's still worth it.
Yeah. And that's great. I think there's a lot to take in there, but the one of the things that I want to make sure that we hit on is take charge of your transition, right? It is yours, and no one's going to help you do it. Unfortunately, if you're active duty, there's not a whole lot of resources you can go to that's in your peer group that I've ever transitioned before, unless you're a reservist or a National Guard.
Yeah.
But other than that, one of the things that I got onto was LinkedIn, because my first sergeant was on there, and he was like, "No, you should really start looking into it." And of course, LinkedIn has stuff for free for veterans, and that actually helped a little bit. But man, you got to listen to the guys that are on the other side, right? We've all been out. You gotta take a little bit of advice from us if you are getting ready to transition, and know that you should actually always be planning to transition, because Raul and I can tell you, more than likely, I wanted to do 20 and it didn't happen. Not everything ever goes to plan. So if you always have on the horizon what's next, you can take advantage of stuff like this, which is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hey, J-Deuce, let's go back a little bit, man. Tell us a little bit about your let's backtrack a little. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, man. What made you join the Marine Corps, and a little bit about your family, if you don't mind, man.
Well, I mean, starting from the beginning, I was born in Mexico, right? Matter of fact, I just got my citizenship about 4 years ago. Talk about procrastinating, right? But
yeah, congrats, bro.
Yeah, so I was born in Mexico.
That's cool, man. That's a heck of a feat. It really is. Awesome.
Oh yeah. That was another stress off my back, and the biggest thing is I was just procrastinating, right? I had everything that I needed. I was like, I'll do it later, even though it's a expedited process. I'll do it later. But anyways, going back and began, born in Mexico. When I was about 5 years old, we came to the States, and it was a short plan. My parents had to make money, save it up, and then go back and buy some businesses, which we did. I was able to go back to Mexico after living here for 3 years. And I was back in Mexico for about 3 years in the early 90s. The economy took a shit down there. But I remember the first year we were doing real well. We had a store, we had a cab company, we had my dad had a couple businesses, one that he bought from my grandpa, and two that he just built up on his own, just with a little bit of money that he was able to save working, essentially damn near minimum wage jobs here for a few years. But the economy took a bad turn, and we were losing more money than we were making. But I learned a lot during that time, right? I learned a lot about being astute and being aware of my surroundings, all that kind of stuff. People grow up with that in Mexico. You have to. The same way that people who grow up in rough neighborhoods, but in a different way. In a rough neighborhood, it's more so about like you might get shot kind of thing, right? Whereas in Mexico, it's more so like you leave your bike outside and the neighbor kid takes it. The rest of the neighborhood isn't going to blame him for taking it. It's understood that you shouldn't left your shit outside. Like those hard lessons are still, very real. So it gave me an opportunity to do that, and I experienced both cultures a little bit. But again, we were doing money wise, it wasn't going very well for about the first year was going great, then it went bad. So we came back, and so when we came back here, it was a complete culture shock, because when I left, it was MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice, right, Ninja Turtles. I came back and I go to this school and everybody's wearing Ben Davis, Dickies, hairnets, the smell of fucking, 3 flowers through the hallways.
Yeah, brother.
And they're looking at me like I'm a chump because I'm wearing some, what I consider nice clothes. I'm not wearing, down ass fool clothes, but this school was like nothing but cholos, So then I had to get accustomed to that. And I just remember that you had to join a gang, regardless, even if you didn't dress that way, you had to pick a gang and join it. Otherwise, you were on your own. And in Mexico, one thing Mexico taught me how to fight, right? One-on-one. You tell a kid in the 4th grade in Mexico, I'll see you after class. It's not just talking crap. They're going to hold you to it. After school, you're not going anywhere. All the class is going to surround you. Say, no, you said you're going to fight him. Now do it. So I had to learn to fight. And one thing that frustrated me growing up, and this is when I was back in New Mexico in middle school. Yeah, gangsters walking around, mad dogging each other. But the reality that I realized after a while, those kids were just, were even more scared than I was. That's why they were in a gang, right? And those are things that at that age, the public perception of it all doesn't match what your young mind is starting to realize. So you kind of question it, but eventually enough things happen that you realize, you know what, fuck what everybody else is saying. I'm right. I can tell this is right. And I couldn't, long story short, I couldn't get a one-on-one fight to save my life. It always had to be a rumble. It always had to be, see you after school, you and all your guys and me and all my guys, and we're all going to fight. It was never a one-on-one. I couldn't get one. So by the time I finished middle school, I knew that I never wanted to be, in that kind of life again. I had no respect for like the little gangsters and stuff like that. That's when people are like, oh, I grew up in the hood. I'm not impressed in the sense that, yes, you had to overcome adversity, but that doesn't make you tough. That makes you a survivor, yes. That makes you maybe resilient, but that doesn't make you a badass. You know what I mean?
Right.
So once my mentality started going that way, on top of the fact that my dad was in the Mexican army back in the day, so he kind of pumped that in my head a little bit, told me some stories. But we changed districts when I went to high school, and that was my opportunity to never go down that path again. We were now in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Middle school was in the outskirts, so everybody knew each other. Now I'm in the city. A small city, but Las Cruces, I took it as an opportunity to never deal with gangs again. I had no interest, no respect. I thought they were a bunch of pussies, essentially, right? So I go to high school, and I wanted to just kind of do better for myself. On top of that, my dad took me to like the orientation or whatever, and there's these little geeks walking around in uniform, telling everybody where to go. And my dad was like, well, what's that? I was like, oh, that's some ROTC shit. I saw, when I came and looked at him, but I already have my classes, Dad. I can't do that. I already have my classes. Like, no, you're doing, my dad, no, you're doing that. Dude, I was so mad. I was so mad. He literally walked into this is like, I already had my schedule. He walked into the office, found a counselor, and said, how can I get my kid to switch? Do whatever you got to do, switch whatever class you need, but he needs to do that. Right? I had no say in the matter. I was so mad, but I'll tell you what, after a few months, I loved every bit of it. And in high school, I did a little bit of sports. I did everything, man. You name it, I probably did at least. I try everything once was kind of what my dad taught me growing up. But the only thing that I did the whole time was JROTC, right? I mean, shit, my senior year, I even tried band for like a few months.
What'd you play?
We had a state champion like cheerleading team. So
wow,
here you go for everybody out there. I was a cheerleader for like, I don't know.
Brother.
But I tried everything, a little bit of everything. But the one thing that I was consistent with is ROTC. And sure enough, my senior year, I was a cadet commanding officer, and I really liked it. So by the time I was 16, I already knew all the recruiters and everything, and just the way they carried themselves, right? The neighbor recruiter, we called him Scooby. So he had a nickname. We got to call him by a nickname, which is cool for high school kids. But when you're in JRC and you understand structure and respect, like that was kind of weird that he just let kids call him by his nickname. He was cool as hell, but he didn't wear his uniform the sharpest and this and that, to my liking, I guess. The Army, he was cool as hell, man. That dude was very knowledgeable and everything. But I just remember, like, all you have to do is ask him to get you out of class, and he'd take you out to lunch, sign you out saying that he's going to talk to you about the Army, because the Army had a huge budget for that other services didn't. I remember the Air Force recruiters were kind of stuck up. They kind of just, they really weren't very aggressive probably at the time because they didn't need to be. And the Marine recruiters, they were just different, man. They looked like fucking animals in their uniform every time, not just in blues. They were all a bunch of fucking gym monkeys. Like they you could tell they just every day they went to the gym and lifted together. They were huge, high and tights. And career day, the Army's giving you a backpack, the Air Force is giving you this and that, and everybody's giving you something. You go up to the Marines and you try to ask them for a pencil, and they want you to do 20 push-ups for it. You try to ask them for a little gym bag, even though they have a bunch sitting right there. They're supposed to give out. They want you to do at least 10 pull-ups to earn it. Otherwise, you're not getting it, right? So they're kind of assholes in that matter. But that's kind of that's actually a strategy that the Marines use for recruiting, and it got me, man. I was like, man, I've never been one to take the easy road. I always want a challenge because I'm naturally lazy. So when I'm not challenged, I get very lackadaisical, very comfortable. So since I was 16, I'm going to be a Marine. I told everybody, and I wasn't even a U.S. I didn't even have my green card yet, to be honest with you, in high school. but I knew that's what I wanted, you know? And so graduation comes around, and I still didn't have my green card, but it was on the way. We had in the process. My dad had just gotten remarried. My parents had been separated for about 2 years. So finally, by the time I got my green, well, not my green card, my that's your permanent residence. I got like my temporary residence, which allows you to work, but not join the military yet. And this just, you kind of get to work while in the process of getting your actual green card. I became a rent-a-cop, so I was doing a security guard for a while, and which that takes us back to what we were talking about earlier. 9/11. It was a day where I worked at night. And again, I had been telling everybody I'm joining the Marine Corps. Now my green card was coming. I had an excuse not to go right after high school. And you know how it is. You say things, but then as a kid, once it's time to put up or shut up, you give yourself every excuse. And that was me, right? So my excuse was I didn't have my green card. Oh, I'm going to get it, but I'm going to spend a year in my hometown before I join, spend time with my family before I leave, right? That was my excuse. But I knew a few months into it that I already felt like I need to get out of here or I'm going to be stuck here, right? New Mexico is the land of enchantment, but we call it the land of entrapment. And I knew that I was going to get in trouble, get some chick pregnant, something that was going to ruin like my plans for myself. And so I already had that in me. But on top of that, 9/11 happened. I had to work the night before. I get home about 5 a.m, go to my room, go to sleep, living with Mom Dukes at the time. And she wakes me up like 2 hours later, Mio, and I've been asleep for like an hour and a half. Something happened. A plane hit in New York, hit a tower, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just thinking like, Mom, like you come in here and tell me about everything that's on the news. I really don't give a shit. Some freak accident. Yeah, I got it, Mom, bye. I need to sleep, right? So I didn't pay no mind. Well, not too long later, she comes back. Mijo, another one. As soon as she said another one, I knew it wasn't an accident, right? At that point, wow, you have my attention. I get up, I go to the living room, and I'm watching this, right? I'm watching this for hours, and I saw, everything that was going on, the Pentagon, all that stuff. Just in disbelief, really, like most of us, right? Just in disbelief. How can this happen? Why? How? Like so many questions. You're just trying to figure it out. And then the news, they're reporting stuff as it comes, and then later on it gets disproven. So you're getting almost too much information. Before you know it, I had to go to work again, right? And my shift, it started, sometime in the middle of the day. And it was this place where they were basically building a new area, and people were stealing trees, as stupid as that sounds, and the little median center dividers. They were stealing like every third tree or something, and which was costing so much money that they would rather pay for security to literally guard trees. That's what I was doing that day. I was in my car just watching trees, make sure they don't get stolen. But I had the radio on all day, and I was listening to that thing all day. And at one point, I just remember feeling kind of, we say the calling, but it started with disappointing myself, right? Because I said I was going to join. I hadn't done anything to join yet. Granted, I was still waiting on my permanent green card, but there was stuff that I could have already started doing. And I could just imagine my hometown has the city has an ordinance where you can't build any buildings higher than I think 3 stories. There's one building that was grandfathered that I think is like 6 stories high, and that is the highest building in the city. It's a bank, or it was at the bank. That was back then. I just started, how crazy can this is already crazy. How crazy can it get? Is there going to be terrorists, flying a plane into that building here in my hometown? My mom could be at that bank. Like, who's going to go stop these motherfuckers? Who is going to go be the defender of our way of life, right? And at this time, again, I was as an alien person to this country, I'm very grateful for the opportunities we have here, right? For many people that are raised here and only know America, sometimes it's hard for them to understand how good we have it because they've never seen anything else. I have, right? So I understand how good we have it and how great this country is and our way of life. So I'm thinking, like, who's gonna go fight these fuckers off? Like my mom, my sister? No, it's me. I'm sitting here. I'm 18 years old. It should be me. Why am I not doing something, everything in my power to be right now? I should be reacting to this right now. That whole like a sheepdog mentality that we have in us, those of us that have it in us, kind of just lit up on fire for me. And at that point, I knew, I need to get on this. I need to do what I got to do. Right. And of course, it still took months. But at that point, I knew it was no longer me telling other people that I'm going to join. At that point, I knew I could look myself in the mirror and know every day 100% I'm going to join the United States Marine Corps.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, so if you're just joining us, J-Deuce was kind of taking us back a little bit, where his childhood spent, and it was in between here and Mexico, and a pretty rough upbringing, man. I really respect it, and I think we had Miss Charlene Johnson, Miss CJ was on earlier, and she's an immigrant from Jamaica, and I've said this, I think you can learn a lot from immigrants because my family's been here for a couple of generations or so, but even my grandfather, hard worker, his son, hard worker, my dad, hard worker. And so you get those traits, and when you come here as an immigrant, you realize exactly what you just said, how great this country can be, and how many opportunities there are for us. And I love how you looked inward to say, who's going to come in here and save this? And you're like, it's going to be me. It's going to be people like me that are going to join to help out and to serve others. And so that's kind of where we're at now. And I do want to take a quick pause and let you know that this episode is brought to you by Patriot Knife Coffee Company. You can visit them at www.patriotknifecoffee.us. Use promo code Charlie Mike and let Tree know that we sent you. Tree, we love you, man. He's doing great things in the community too. So J-Deuce, you joined in, what year was that? 2002?
I joined in 2002. Yep.
2002, yeah.
Early
Man.
2002.
So
February is when I got finally got my green card in. So again, 9/11 happened. Go talk to the recruiter, let him know where my status is, let him know what I'm waiting on. He even invited me to start doing the pool functions and stuff like that. And then around December, I had an accident on my motorcycle, fucked up my ankle, and like it was a little quick panic moment because I didn't have insurance or anything. That was before you were required to. So I just kind of had to let it heal on its own. So long story short, February, my green card comes in. I go straight into the recruiter's office. I said, I'm ready to go. And he looked at me and said, well, you're fat. So, I mean, I used to play basketball and go on a run here and there. I couldn't do that with my ankle. I'm sorry. No, I got in that accident and my green card came in. I got in the accident in October. My green card came in December. But he told me, at that time, my ankle wasn't good, right? He said, you're fat, he's like, come back when you can pass a physical and, you can lose some weight, blah, blah, blah. And so I thought I was done. But around February, my best friend and I were just kind of shooting hoops in the front yard. And, we used to play basketball. That day we were just shooting hoops. But in one of those moments where I caught the ball and I did a quick little move and he tried to guard me and I actually had a little bit of movement. I'm not good at basketball. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying. I'm making it sound like I'm fucking. No, I suck. But it got some sweat going when we would play. But that little bit of move, I was like, wait a minute. My ankle's good. So we played some basketball. My ankle was good through it. I went on a run the next day. I was good. So that's the day that I went and told the recruiter, hey, I'm ready. Where do I sign? What do I need to do? He said, well, first of all, you're still fat. You need. I was probably about 220 pounds at the time. I needed to be 202 to dep in, and I need to be 190 to ship. And I did that in about 5 weeks, right? By the time, he said, well, you blah, 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 we'll see. Did the ASVAB, all that kind of stuff. I started losing weight, made the 202 to dep in. I was trying to do it, I think, in 3 weeks, but obviously it didn't happen. So I actually had a ship date, or not a ship date, a dep in date. That's the one I missed. It didn't happen that fast. But it took about 5 weeks to finally be able to go. And I mean, I was killing myself, man. I mean, and that's a story that's been the story of my Marine Corps career, to be honest with you. Many people will attest to those of us that are built like a fucking trash can, built like a barrel. When that weighing comes in, man, you sacrifice to the gods, and you do what you got to do, and you make weight, and you do that twice a year, But that was my first introduction to that. Everything from Epsom salt to whatever, no carb diets. At one point, it got to a point where I plateaued so bad that I was still working. Right, I quit my job about 2 weeks before I shipped, and my job was to work out. I used to go to the gym twice a day, and I used to do cardio at home 3 times a day. So it was just work out, rest a little bit, work out, rest a little bit, work out. And so that's finally how I was able to break through. Still missed it by half a pound when I went to boot camp and was still a diet recruit, but I got to I still got to ship. So
really a diet recruit? Yeah,
dude, I was a diet recruit. So back then, the old camis, you had the little buttons here, they would hang a little tag. on one pocket on this side, on the right side, that said diet recruit. Meanwhile, your billet, if he held any special billet in the platoon, that was on the other pocket. I was the only guy I ever saw that had a diet recruit tag and platoon guide tag at the same time.
Yeah.
But it took a while, man. Who wants to be a squad leader? This recruit, sir. Sit down, diet. Every time. And it didn't take my drill instructors very long to realize that I was a drilling motherfucker, right? And
yeah.
once the drill evaluation started coming up, and they saw I was helping other recruits pick up how to. I mean, I was drill team commander in my high school and stuff like that. So granted, boot camp's a little bit different, but you still get the basics. You understand everything from pivots to columns to all that. So they picked up on it. They saw that I was, and you know, my senior drill instructor actually gave me a chance, and he said, I'm going to get roasted. He told me, I'm going to get roasted up and down this fucking recruit highway from every other senior drill instructor for having a guide that's a diet. So you better not fuck it up. You know?
Nice.
It's funny because I was on the diet thing also, but for the other reason. I joined the army and I was 113, dude.
Damn.
Yeah, so I was fucking eating y'all's leftovers, bro. Yeah, man.
Jeez,
They
bro.
fucking, hey, eat this.
Double rations.
Yeah, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. That's basically the, you know, when I joined. It was April 2002 when I joined. It's sick. What was it? 6 years after that, in April of 2002, again, almost. Actually, yeah, exactly to the day, April 8th, 2002. Then April 8th, 2008, I went back to Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. This time, I checked into drill instructor school.
Wow, man.
Exactly 6 years later on the same date. It was crazy. So I got the opportunity to go out there and train some recruits. You know, that was a good time.
How surreal is that? How surreal is it to kind of come in and you know, see the footprints from the other side?
I mean, it's rough, man, because here's the thing. You idolize drill instructors, right? I mean, they're just fucking robots. They're just gods to you. And then you go to the fleet and, you know, as a recruit, you think, oh, fuck, like that's what I got to live up to as a Marine, right? But then you go to you go to the Fleet Marine Force, and not every NCO and staff NCO is that caliber of a Marine. You realize, oh, that's just drill instructor, and you miss that. You want that, right? No matter how much Marines and soldiers, and us being out, it's easy for us to say that. It's the people that are in that have a hard time realizing this. No matter how much you complain about how hard somebody is on you, that we crave that. We want that deep inside. So when you leave boot camp and you know, you start seeing some people, and they're not that sharp. They're not as sharp as a drill. They're still sharper than you, but you know, so that's what creates the hunger for everybody to go back, kind of thing. And then when you meet staff NCOs that are prior drill instructors, they just carry themselves so much different,
right?
And you know, once you meet normal NCOs and staff NCOs, that drill instructors, they're playing a role. You understand that they're very sharp, but also they were playing a role. That's not who they are when they go home to their kids. You finally understand that. So then when you see them on the fleet, you don't understand why they have to act different. Like, dude, you're not a drill instructor anymore. Why are you so? But at the same time, you like it, right? That gives you that moto boner that we call. You know, so once you go, once you go back, you know, once you go to drill instructor school, it's a huge wake up, because I'll tell you what, man, if boot camp, however hard boot camp is, drill instructor school is that on steroids. It's 10 times harder. You know, in boot camp, it's like you're introduced to a new concept and you have a very short time period to figure it out, but still to pass it, you only have to, you know, essentially get like a 70%, right? And as a drill instructor, that's the passing requirement for to pass a school. But if you're getting low 90s on multiple items, you are getting berated every single day. And there's a difference when you're a recruit, entry level, you know, and somebody's telling you you're a piece of shit, you're lower than scum. You're a fucking recruit. You're nothing. You haven't earned anything. But once you're already there were some hard chargers in DI school with fucking stacks of ribbons and all the war stories in the world, and now they're being told by somebody else that they're a piece of shit, essentially. Only they're very professional at it, and they don't say it in those words. But I'll give you an example, right? We had a one gunnery sergeant, 1E7 in the class, so by default he was the class commander. And there was a whole, you know, drill and ceremony is everything. So every time the the class is set up. We go in the classroom. They get us in by a certain formation, and he gets counts, and everybody's literally just standing there waiting for the instructor to come in. The instructor comes in. He has to stand up 2 steps this way, 3 steps that way, heels together, give the report. Essentially, he's on duty, so he's wearing his cover. He gives a report, this many recruits or this many drill instructor school students on deck, blah, 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 blurts out what class we're going to take, everything. And just like you remember in basic training, they do that to make you learn how to say shit properly, and it fumbles your mind because it's a new concept. So, he's fucking it up. I mean, it's like day 2 or 3, I think. He's fucking it up, of course. No, not loud enough, get back. And they're treating him like he's a recruit, right? No, gunner sergeant, that's not a proper salute, get back. No, your heels come together before you start speaking, get back. A couple, just those games, right? And at one point, now this is an E7 gunnery sergeant. As a student, reporting his post to the instructor, who is an E6, the staff sergeant. And this E6 is telling this gunner sergeant very professionally, no, gunner sergeant, you messed this up. Go back, try it again. Because that's his job, to train him. And at one point, I just remember, he tells him, are you, he had everything perfect. Now he just wasn't very loud. He just wasn't being loud enough. And everything there is volume, right? And he just interrupts him in the middle of it and says, are you serious, gunner sergeant? That's as loud as you can get? I'll tell you what, gunnery sergeant. I'm a staff sergeant. I look up to gunnery sergeants. Don't make me change my mind. And that sergeant sitting in the front as a regular student, I'm just like, holy fuck. Because undoubtedly the spotlight is going to be on you at one point. Right now, I'm lucky that the class just started. I'm not a higher one. I'm in general population. I haven't yet got the spotlight on me. But the day that it happens, I'm like, oh shit. If they're doing this to a gunnery sergeant, fuck, what are they gonna do with me?
That was a good one. That was awesome.
Gotta come.
I gotta have to edit that one out, man. That was cool.
Man, that's awesome.
And you're exactly right, because it doesn't matter what service you're in. You really do look to your drill sergeants as when you're coming in as the standard. Like, this is what it's going to be like everywhere I go. I mean, cadence, calling, volume, professionalism. This is where you learn it all. You're just a new person, and then to be that, you have to go to even above that, a higher standard to go through that school, which is always, it's surreal, man. It really is just interesting to know that you were a GI.
Yeah, man.
and to be honest with you, the school is hard, but it's structured, right? If anything, once you develop the time management skills and all that stuff, it's still structured though. There is a clear line to follow. You just have to keep up. Once you get that cover and that belt, and you are officially a United States Marine Corps drill instructor, and you go over there and you stand in front of recruits, that's when the work starts. And that is the hardest part. Once you do that, you look back at DI school and realize it wasn't shit. Just like the fleet, right? Or once you actually hit your unit, go on that first training exercise or that first deployment, that's when you realize, holy shit, this is the real shit. I need to wake the fuck up. I need to keep up. I need to figure this out. At that point, you look back at your basic training, right? Whether it's boot camp or basic or whatever it is, and you realize that shit was a joke compared to what you're doing now. Some real shit. That's kind of how it is too. Once you hit the streets and you're in front of recruits and everything you saw your drill instructors be so fluent at, you're not going to be fluent at it initially. And DI school can't teach you that. There's no way that they can. Just something as simple as what we call a countdown, right? I don't know if you guys have that in other services, but in the Marine Corps, everything's a countdown, and we get them dressed and undressed, what we call by the number. So they're right there, they wake up, they get online, blah, blah, blah. Once you start getting dressed, they're sitting there in their undershirt and their skivvies and their socks, right? Actually, no socks. They're sitting there in their shower shoes, and you're getting them dressed. It's literally one thing at a time, socks online, ready, move. And they're required to go get their socks and come back online in a certain amount of time. And that's all they get. If they do one thing over that, one stupid bitch comes back with socks and his belt or something, you make them all put that shit back, get back online, and then do it again. And every single time it's what's called a countdown. So socks, boot socks online, ready, move, 30, 29, 28, 27, 29, 40, 39, and you're counting down. And that's not something that's normal. I mean, we say 60 seconds, but 60 seconds would sound like this: 60, 59, 58, 59, 50, 49, 58, 40, 39, 38, 30, 29, 28, 20, 19, 86, 4, 12, 11, 10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are, and they scream, done, sir. That does not roll off the tongue when you're new. You struggle with that.
Yeah.
Especially if you get implanted in a platoon that's already in like second or third phase. You literally have recruits looking at you, trying very hard not to laugh at you.
He said
Yeah.
he said some stupid bitch.
Yeah, sorry. Hey,
No, no,
if there's anybody listening that was a prior general instructor, that's how we talk. They're all bitches and hoes and pigs and blah blah blah. But that's somebody's son or daughter, and we know that. We don't well, most of us don't treat him that way, but that's how we talk. I'm sorry.
No, we say the same thing about you guys.
Hey man, you know what I was telling William that when you were at TQ, man, in Iraq, I was there at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we touched base on that. Yeah, 2006. I was there from about, I want to say, I don't know, February or March till about October, I believe. Maybe November.
Yeah. We did that good old 15 months right there.
Oh man, yeah. You guys took one of those.
Yeah. So they were like, "Oh, y'all are back." No, motherfucker, we never left. Yeah.
When I went down to Fallujah, the Marines were dicks, man. They cut all the electronics, everything they had. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't want to sell it. They cut all their appliances. Like, damn, you guys suck.
I think, once we left. The Iraqi, I think the Iraqi army took over what we had at one point, but shit, we didn't give a fuck. We were like, let's go home. Yeah, man, that's crazy.
You remember getting those orders like twice a week and shit in TQ? That was
because we were always between TQ and Ramadi right there, man. That's where we were at. Yeah. Shit, good times, man. Yeah, man. So let's touch it up, man. So how many kids you got, bro?
So I have 3, 2 grown ass men, right? I have a 21-year-old. I have a 19-year-old about to turn 20, and then my daughter who's 10.
That's crazy. And you're about to hit that big 40 coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm about to hit the big 40, man.
Man, what you got? You got a big party coming up?
You know,
you flying us to California?
Yeah, I mean,
not quiet as fuck.
I'm actually looking into renting a Game of Thrones dragon for you guys, and come out here. No, but typically my wife takes care of that, right? Like her birthday, I put it together. My birthday, she puts it together.
Right, cool.
And
we're talking to the wrong person.
Here in a few weeks, she's gonna keep asking me what I want. I'm just gonna be like, nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of those guys, man. Like,
I am right now.
Yeah, like. Yeah.
You still doing PT?
Of course. Hit the gym every day, man. That's a retired life right now. You know, as far as like my life is get up in the morning, right? Which get up at 7 a.m., which is 3 hours later than I would be getting up if I was still in. So that's sleeping in to me, right?
Yeah.
I wake my daughter up. I get her ready for school. I make her some breakfast, blah, blah, blah. You know, I kind of tell my wife, hey, like this is my time with her, right? And then by the time we take her to school, we go straight to the gym. And it started out with me and a buddy of mine who's a Border Patrol agent, former Marine. And then we added another one. And now even like my 19-year-old and my wife, like we all go. So I have a whole group. And one thing about me is I suck at training myself. Like I suck at just going to the gym for myself. I do best when I'm training somebody.
Yeah.
All the time. It's always been that way. So right now it's awesome. I have literally a whole group of, 4, it's 5 of us, 6 of us, 5 people looking at me like, what are we doing today? And what's next? And I thrive on that, right? I do better for myself. I do better for them. I keep track of what they're, what they need and stuff like that. It's something that I like doing. I don't think I would ever do it for money. Because for one, it's a shit business, but for two, I think it sucked the joy out of it. But the whole time I was in the Marine Corps, I always loved doing it that way. Matter of fact, when we were in Iraq, I was training a couple of guys. It was a good time. But yeah, so that's when my morning starts. I PT, I go to, and when I say PT before, I have fucked up shoulders, but I had to work my pull-ups, even though I know it's bad for my shoulders because Marines have to do pull-ups, right? I have bad hip, bad knees, and I'm cardio wise. I've always been a very good runner, especially for my size. I'm distance wise, I'm very good, but my joints don't agree with that. And so what I had to do is, take it easy on my joints. And then when a PT test was coming up, train. I knew that if I did it right, I had a good 6 weeks of training before things started to hurt. So I would do that. But now I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do. I don't have to do pull-ups.
Yeah.
You know, I literally just do what I want to do, and I don't have to make tapes. So I don't have to worry about cardio if I don't want to. If I feel myself getting out of breath doing this and that, then I'll throw on some cardio for a few weeks. But I haven't had that because I work out hard enough with the weights, intensity. So it's good. And literally by the time we're done with that, it's like 10. I really don't start work till maybe 10:30, 11 every day.
That's what's up.
You know, it's a good
Hey,
time.
so it feels different, man, being there for your daughter, huh? Like I know you were always there, of course, but not there. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we always had. I mean, we've always had this connection, my daughter and I. We can say things without using words sometimes, just with the look, and we've always had that kind of a connection. But now, actually having the time to be involved in her life is I think for her, she just she gets those little moments that more often. And you guys have kids, right? Both of you.
Yeah. Well, I
You know
have a
that
10
moment
year old.
when for girls, it lasts a lot longer. For boys, they only do it a lot of times when they're a lot younger. But that moment when your kid just looks at you and for no reason, it's like they got butterflies in their stomach. They come up and they give you a big hug, right?
Yeah.
Just at a random. I get a lot more of those because I think she feels me there more. And then for me, it's helping me understand her and get to know her a lot more, right? Before it was more so, hey, just make sure that I do right by her and that I prepare her for life. Like that's how I was raised. Is it's almost a training theory of prepare them for the hard times that are going to come. Now I get to like actually understand her a lot more and know what she's about rather than just injecting knowledge and training and whatever. I use words like knowledge and training. Obviously it's different with kids, but that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's a lot more of me actually understanding who she is becoming as a person.
And I got to piggyback because after you said that, you know this, that I left my job. Well, seeing today, I seen some folks today that I hadn't seen in a while when I was working with a nonprofit, and they all said, you look a lot happier now.
Yeah.
And one of the big things, and it's nothing against where I was working. One of the big things for me is exactly what you're saying is I've noticed my oldest one is 12, 10, 6 and 5, that they want to be around me more, right?
Yeah.
They're okay. They want to hug me more. They want to engage with me more. And it's because I'm around more.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just there. And now I get to be everything that I want to be as a father. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
greatest blessing I can ever ask for.
I think it's similar with me also because of my path of sobriety. Like I feel like a lot of faith age. I was there, once I got out of the military, but I was still struggling myself to find who I was. And I think that's why Layla being 10, I'm always there. You know what I mean? Like she's like, "Hey, Dad, you gonna go home or what?" You know what I'm saying? like, no, I'm staying here. Yeah.
There was a time where my running joke with her was that I was going to change my name to "Where's Mom?" because 9 times out of 10 she'd walk in her room, look right at me, and the first words out of her mouth was, "Where's Mom?" If she wanted a juice or if she wanted to ask a question, she didn't feel confident in asking me, right? And there's a reason for that because prior to me being available, 9 times out of 10, if she asked me something, I would have to go check with Mom because she knows what's going on, right? She asks me something. Can I wear this to school tomorrow? I gotta go ask Mom because if I say yes, then it comes back like you told her she could wear this, but she has PE tomorrow. Stuff like that. So I understand where it came from, but now she's finally to the point where like, okay, now we have lanes, right? There's a lot of things because she's a young lady that she needs to go to Mom for. But there's a lot more things now that she can come to me and she feels comfortable coming to me for.
That's what's up, man. I feel that on so many levels.
Mm.
Man, let's talk a little bit about, man, this music making career, man. So when did you realize you had a talent?
Whew, man.
This is something you always.
Well, I did a podcast a couple months ago and it went very long, right? Like it went for almost 2.5 hours.
I saw it.
It went very deep. It was just an audio podcast. I went very introspective and I realized some things that I hadn't really thought about before. And I realized, so number one, I was when I was young and my dad, right, raising me to be tough and the whole macho thing. Like that comes with certain attributes and strengths, but it also comes with damage, right? That's just how it is. If you raise a kid too soft, they're going to be very comfortable and very happy, but they're also not getting prepared for life. And then if you're too hard, they're better prepared for the atrocities that life is going to throw at you, but there could be damage there that's going to carry them for life, right? So that's what parenting is finding that balance, in my opinion. But, you know, with me, I was struggling for a while there, right? Up until I was about 13 years old, I really felt or thought that I hated my dad because he was so strict, because he was so, I mean, he was militant almost, you know, like go clean your room. And I think I don't feel like cleaning my room. I'm a kid. I think I'm smart. So I shove everything under the bed and pull the, you know, the comforter down. And he's not dumb. When I go out of the room 15 minutes later, okay, I'm not cleaning my room. Can I go play? And he knows that it normally takes me like a fucking hour. He's gonna say, oh, really? You're done cleaning your room? He's going to go in there. He's going to find it. He's going to make a bigger mess of my room, you know, not actually flip my mattress, but basically the same effect of flipping someone's mattress, fuck up the room even worse and make me do it again. Right. So I felt I hated him, but right when I was about 13, 14 is when I started struggling with like seeing the value of what he had taught me, but also trying to find myself. And because he raised me to be so macho and because I was so concerned about being accepted, you know, I went to 9 different schools growing up. So I'm very comfortable going into a group of strangers and being the center of attention. But also, I'm very uncomfortable in the sense that you always wonder, like, these people know each other for years. They know who each other are. They have their place. Where's my place? Right. It's similar, like just wanting to be accepted, but more so the anxiety of not knowing where your place is, kind of thing. So that being said, growing up, I didn't have a best buddy or anybody that I could, I mean, I had best friends, but not somebody that could be vulnerable with, somebody that I could really speak. And I think most teenagers, because, you know, we're self-conscious at that age, don't have that. But for me specifically, that's what it was. And it was hard on my chest, right? Well, I don't know why. I don't know if I saw it in a movie. I couldn't tell you why, but I realized, like, I don't want to write in a journal, but maybe if I write my thoughts down, I can better take them in. Because right now I can't even put them in place in my head because everything's just bouncing around. So I started writing, right? I started writing, and it was just literally a paragraph about what I was feeling. And then I would go back and read it, and I could see where I sound ridiculous or where I know what I'm trying to say, but maybe I wasn't saying it right in my head, and now it makes sense. I can put things in place, right? So that started there at an early age. Also, a few years later in high school, this girl, Amaris Miranda, she was a Puerto Rican girl who was just funny and cool as hell. Like, she was just very sure of herself. And one day she's like, oh, I have a rhyme. Like, everybody should have a rhyme. I have a rhyme. And it's like, you know, she had this like, hey, my name is Amaris and I'm blah, blah, blah. Like, just a little rhyme. And I was like, you know, yeah, everybody should have a rhyme. So I remember writing a rhyme, you know, and they used to, I used to wear the Mexican boots and cowboy hat, like probably once every 2 weeks or so to school. Cause I had it, you know, that was my little dress up day. And so my nickname in the drill team was Cowboy. So that's, you know, we were going on a competition trip and I wrote it for that. So, you know, it's like, oh, my name is Cowboy. And I can't remember how it went, but I wrote a little rhyme and that was my first time doing it. But I just remember that I wasn't happy with it and I rewrote it. And like, I kept rewriting till eventually I was able to like put together some rhymes. So then I started writing little rhymes about other stuff. And then eventually my friend and I, we started, you know, writing songs. They were terrible, but it was like, you know, you could rhyme for a while to a beat and then he had a verse, blah, blah, blah. But over time, I'm a constant process improvement type guy. So I kept getting better at it. And then we got into freestyling, and freestyling was like, we put on a beat, go at it for the whole 5 minutes of the beat, and I might actually rhyme maybe twice the whole time. And every time that I did, we'd high five each other. Oh, you know, but
I got it.
From 2 times to 3 times to before, after a while, you know, I can actually, like, to this day, like, there's a lot of rappers can't freestyle. They can't go off the top of their head and just go. I mean, you guys are in Houston. That's one of the meccas of people being able to actually freestyle, you know, aside from New York and stuff back in the day. But a lot of rappers can't do that. They can only write. I wanted to know how to freestyle, and we started getting better and better. And I remember I would meet people who were doing this that were very good, and I would always be that guy tugging on them, like, hey man, hey, just a couple questions, man. How'd you get started? How'd you get better? Blah, blah, blah. I always wanted to learn. And before you knew it, you know, a couple of little rap battles around my town and this and that. I was the guy that would do something, and somebody was tagging on my shirt, and it's some dude saying, hey man, how'd you get started? How'd you get better? So then at that point I realized like, wow, I have gotten better. Right now I'm the guy that they're asking. So now years later, I paired the whole, because initially I was a battle rapper and I was rapping about rapping like most braggadocio rappers. You know, I got bitches and I got hoes and I got money, but it's all fake. It just sounds cool. Well, I started getting to a point where like that just wasn't good enough for me because it was clown shit. I needed to write about something real. And like I said, when I was a teenager, writing my actual emotions and what was heavy on my chest was therapeutic. So then I paired that with rap and I started writing songs that were about some real shit, right? Everything from, you know, relationships, missing home, like actual real stuff. And that's when I actually started gaining a little bit of an audience. And when I say an audience, I'm talking MySpace Music Days, put up a song, and a lot of my friends saying, "Hey man, can you send me that?" Like I would actually like to have that song in my MP3 player, you know.
Cool.
He said MySpace and MP3 player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's how far back it goes, right? Yeah. That's how far back it goes. So then fast forward to, this was after my drill instructor duty tour. You know, my voice was shot while I was working. I mean, your voice is fucked up from screaming. You really can't record music. But after that did calm down, my wife and I had a running joke that, because we decided once I was done with that, I wasn't going to be that busy and we wanted to have another child. So we started trying to, you know, get pregnant, and we had a running joke that I was going to get her pregnant and immediately I was going to get, you know, deployed.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we almost spoke it into existence, because that's exactly what happened. But
yes, it is.
But because of that, you know, now she's pregnant. I'm slated on a deployment to Afghanistan. This is 2011. I wrote a song. I wrote the "When You Come Home" military wife song. It's got like 500,000 views on YouTube. That was my first military topic song. And by then I had heard about Soldier Heart since you and I were in Iraq. Actually, that's the first time I heard about Soldier Heart.
Yeah, that's when I found it myself.
Yeah, to the Fallen, to the Fallen Records put out a hip hop album, and he was on there. And I had already reached out to him and kind of had talked to him a couple times, just giving him props and stuff like that. But that time I sent him that song and I said, "Hey, I made a song. It's very military themed. Like, let me know what you think about it." Because the hard thing about making military raps is it's very easy to go too far out into one side, right? Too military is unrelatable, and now you're just trying to sound like a badass. But also you could be too corny about it, right? You could be too corny and too gimmicky or whatever. So I wanted to make sure that this was something that, I mean, when my wife heard it, she cried immediately. And I know how I felt from putting all that down. It's a story, essentially, right. Not our story specifically, but just kind of talking about all the, you know, issues the military. It was paying respect to military wives and what they go through, right? Well, there's plenty of songs at this time about what we go through, but how about one for the military wives, spouses? And that's kind of what it was about. Sent it to him, and he loved it. And at that time, when he responded, he said, "Hey, and I'm actually starting a label. It's going to be called Redcon One." You know, it was him, Sabo, who else? Aries. Well, Aries and myself were on it. It was him, Hobbs, and Sabo, I believe. And he wanted me and Aries on it too. And initially I said, you know what? I have a career. I have a family. I don't have time to like do that. I just do it for fun. I do mixtapes. He said, well, you know, you can still do mixtapes. Just do it under our name. So to reach a bigger audience. And that kind of made sense. Then he put up the website, Redcon One Music. Once he started it, he said the artists are, you know, Soldier Hard, Stephen Hobbs, Sabo, and coming soon, Aries and J-Deuce. After I told him no, the motherfucker put me on the website. Like, he was that sure. You guys know how he is, right?
Yeah.
So that meant a lot to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. But I'm just gonna do mixtapes. I'm just gonna do songs here and there. And lo and behold, 2 months later, you know, he didn't even talk me into it. I decided to put out my first album, and the rest is history. You know, now that I'm about to be 40, at the time it was prime time for me to do something like that. But as I started getting into my early and mid 30s, you know, I felt like, why am I still a rapper? Like that's not that's not a thing. You know, I should, but I can tell you that I don't know. I don't think I've ever gone more. Probably the largest time frame has maybe been 2 months in between me getting a message from somebody. Sometimes it's somebody that I've talked to before and I know. Many times it's somebody that has followed me on Facebook but never spoken to me. But I get a message that just says, "Hey, J-Deuce, just want to thank you. You know, this song or this verse or just your music as a whole. You know, 2 years ago, I was about to end it all. And this song that you put out, I listened to it, it spoke to me, and that's the reason I'm here today.
That's what's
I get that. I get that all the time.
Me too, man.
Yeah, I get that. I get that often enough that the option of quitting rap is it's not an option.
Yeah.
Man,
Wow.
that's man, fuck. I felt that. Look at my arms, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. God damn.
Yeah, you know, Raul talks about that a little bit with the podcast, and it's just like all we're trying to do really is put what we've learned and teach it, and that's exactly what we're supposed to do. You know, we're supposed to do that, and I love that you found this way to express it. Raul does it in his certain ways, and you know, I do it my ways too. And I love that. It's basically the same mission. It's trying to take what we've known, putting it in a creative way and our way and our take of things, and then for it to hit somebody else, it's humbling, man. It really is. It's just like, man, I'm making this music for me because I love it. You know, or I make it for my wife because she loves it. And then, man, it hits somebody else, and you're like, okay, you know what? That's worth it.
It's the same thing, man. Like you said, when we started this podcast, man, I did it because it helped me. You know, it kind of like brought me out of my comfort zone, and when people started saying like, "Hey, man, it's helping us," then I was like, "Oh shit," you know, that wasn't my intention. My intention was because it helped me, and I'm kind of like I could go a certain amount of time without speaking to anybody. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't phase me. But I felt like you know, especially doing the apparel side, you have to get out of that, you know, you got to be in people's faces. You got to try to sell yourself and try to do things of that nature. And that's how this came. And then it was just a blessing to add you on, man. You're the opposite of me. Well, besides, yeah.
I'm better looking than basically.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to get at.
I said the facial hair. That's what I was
that's
gonna
what I
say.
meant. Yeah. Yeah, you know, one thing that you and I have in common, J-Deuce, is we can grow facial hair and Raul can't.
Yeah, you know.
True. It's true. Man, so how many albums you got out?
Just my albums, solo albums is three. But of course, Redcon 1 compilations and stuff like that, you know, shit, I couldn't even tell you.
I know you're on all of them, a lot of them. So
yeah,
then
I'm on all the compilation albums. I'm on pretty much every one of Soldier Hard's albums and the majority of everybody else's individual albums. Also, we always feature each other. One of my favorite albums is, it wasn't a full on compilation, but it wasn't a solo one. It's myself, Panda, and Frankie Figs. It's called Three Kings, and that was such a great project because those guys are lyricists, right? I'm a lyricist, and I'm also very competitive. So when I had to, you know, when you have to get in the arena with fucking tigers, it brings the best out of you, and those guys are fucking beasts. So it brought the best out of all of us, and some of my favorite songs to this day. If I had to pick a favorite album, it would probably be Changed Man for me. But you know, right behind it, if not next to it, is Three Kings, man. I mean, that just so many just awesome songs there.
That cover art in Three Kings don't even look like you, bro.
Yeah, they have the facial hair and shit, right?
Yeah. I was like, who the hell is this little baby?
And what's funny is I didn't really get introduced to you until I met Raul, and so now obviously when I went to go see you and I follow you on your socials, which by the way, if you don't follow him, follow him on all his socials. But he always has facial hair, and so then when I look at old music, and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is.
You guys met me with facial hair, but for all the people that have been following me for a while, this is all new. You know, this is brand new.
Well, I finally got to see we finally got to see you perform live, man, and that was an honor. And I think that was the first time you got to see
them perform.
And Soldier Hard, I'm not, So we got to hear y'all sing.
You got to throw that picture up.
Man, you threw. Oh shit, I should have. Huh? I didn't have it ready, man. Nah, because I look fat as shit in that picture. Yeah. So your album Changed Man. iTunes top 100 hip hop albums chart. It hit for the first time. That's got to be a feeling, bro.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think we had already done it with a compilation. I think it started with the compilation album, and we were running. And I don't know how Soldier Hard found out about this, but you can actually go on iTunes and go see what the top 100 albums of the day are. Now, granted, it's top 100. It's not like top 100 of all time or anything.
Yeah,
but it's for that day, right? Like, and you're competing against greats. If Eminem drops an album within that month, obviously you're not going to surpass him, right? You're going to surpass Eminem's album that he dropped last year or something like that, maybe, right? But it's still a great feat because I mean, if you look at the sheer numbers of how many albums get released every single day, and to be honest with you, it's more of a we have such a close following, right? Our Redcon One family is just it's strong as shit, right? And especially at that time, we were very active. We were doing a lot as a family. So when an album would come out, there would be people who had already purchased like the CD with the shirt and like the early download and everything they could just to support us. But because we were chasing that, they would go in there and they'd buy it, and then they buy it for their wife's iPod and do everything to just support. And like that, fuck the numbers. That in itself is what I will always remember. Because I mean, shout out to the Redcon One family, man. There's some people that just, I mean, I could start naming names, but I don't want to because I'm gonna forget some, or not forget some, but leave some out because it would go forever. But you know what? I'll give you an example, right? Jason Rogers and Brittany Rogers. When my daughter did some kind of thing in school where they were raising money for, like, they were trying to build a redo their library. So they had this contest going, right? Taking donations, and whoever gets the most donations gets this. Top one gets a free iPad and blah, blah, blah. Well, I sent it out, to the people that we knew, and she was actually doing very well. She was on top. And then somebody else, some other lady, like her son was like second or something. And I don't know the details, but my wife said like, oh, like pretty much like this bitch did some shady shit and just fucking put in a bunch of money so her son can be number one just to take Salai out. And at that point, I made a post about it, like how like people are just funny, right? And Jason was like, fuck that. Salaya's going to win. Let's get it fucking out there. And he started putting it out there. And then so I put it out there. Hey, fucking this is going on, because everybody knows I've always been very open about my family and about everything, dude. Like Jerry Lozano, the father, the rapper, the Marine, every part of it is the same guy. I've worked very hard to achieve that. So I'm very open. I make songs about my family and everything. So I put it out there and people, man, came to rally. And that lady, I don't know who she had in her pockets, but she was battling and people were just donating just to get, and Salaya like blew them out. And I think Jason Rogers and Brittany Rogers probably donated at like $700.
Wow.
Pretty much they could have bought Salaya that iPad and been done with it. But no, they wanted her to win out there. They were tagging people and like they were like, and I'm shouting them out for that specific situation. But I've had that multiple times with multiple people. We've had that as Redcon One, where people just they believe in what we do, they understand what we're doing, and they will drive so hard that it makes us drive hard. And there was a time, like I said, 2016 and stuff like that, where it was almost overbearing. It was very hard. It was almost a full-time job because we were so active. We had so much shit going on all the time. But when your battle buddy to your left and right is going hard, you can't let up, right? And that's what kept us going. Our Redcon One family just going so hard and believing in us so much and wanting us to succeed so hard made us push, and it was a beautiful time.
I see y'all taking a little bit of downtime, man. Do you see the music and everything hyping back up? I mean, not hyping back up, but as far as y'all making more music?
Well, we're going to continue to make music. But I feel like at that time, right? Think about the time frame. At that time, it was needed. The amount of veterans and the lack of resources at the time compared to now. Granted, the VA is not perfect, but there's a lot more resources out there. and there is most veterans are past what's it called, that point, right, where at that time a lot of veterans were struggling, and they just needed they needed it more than it is now, right? It was, you know, 22 a day. That was new back then. That was new. And there was nobody doing anything, nobody talking about it, nobody helping these people, you know, nobody reaching out to us and saying like, hey, I get it. I get what you're going through. You know, what do you need? Or, hey, I get what you're going through. Other people are going through it too, just so you know. Nobody was doing that. So our music was able to do that at a time when it was needed the most. And that is what I mean by that is the reason why we went so hard at the time. It was so needed. We couldn't slow up because we would feel a void being created from us not doing that, right? We had such a pulse on the veteran community that we could actually feel the temperature change when things happen in the veteran community. We're not that active now because I feel like things have we still have a mission, but they've settled down a lot more compared to then. Back then, oh my God, right? Warrior Point, you know, just all the organizations at the time were they were the only ones, and we were all connected because nobody else was doing it. Now there's many of them. There's many more resources for these veterans, and even though music therapy is just one way of doing it, you know, we're still going to continue to do it. It's still a resource, but at the time we just felt like nobody else is doing this. We have to get out there. We have to get people to share this so other veterans know. And I feel like now we're at a time where most veterans, although it's still hard, most veterans understand that they're not the only ones going through it, that, you know, that there's a system in place, many systems in place where everybody now knows to do buddy checks. Everybody now knows that if somebody posts something on social media and it seems kind of dark, to reach out and say, hey man, hey brother, you good? Back then that wasn't the norm. It wasn't, right? Back then we were all fucking tough, you know, war hardened fucking badasses that didn't talk about our feelings.
Yeah.
You know, and now I think one of the big things that we fight a lot now too is that every veteran has PTSD, you know, and it's like PTSD isn't something that's unique to veterans. You know, a lot of folks have PTSD. It's a post-traumatic event that happens, and you can go through childhood trauma. You can get PTSD from car accidents. You know, it's not singular to the veteran community. Yes, a lot of us may have it, but we're not, especially at that time. There was a height of all the shows that were coming out about PTSD, the movies coming out about PTSD, and I'm like, oh man, watch out for veterans. And it's like, this isn't an accurate depiction of what the veteran community is.
Oh yeah, but it's still like that to a point. Like people will say, you know, he's like that because he's got PTSD. No, if you're an asshole, you can't fucking blame that on PTSD. You're just a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just,
absolutely.
I guess it's they use it as a crutch. I don't want to say crutch.
No, no, you're. I think you're on the right line where
as a crutch or an excuse, and one thing that I had to learn, right, because I've always been very blunt, confrontational, just to the fucking point, call a spade kind of guy, and you know, which comes with the lack of tact sometimes and everything. Basically, you end up being an asshole many times, and it's just that sometimes it's worth being an asshole because it needs to be said. But one thing I learned about Soldier Hard, right, and this is one thing that he taught me. He won't address all those negative things publicly because our mission is to bring light to the problems that are out there, right? The majority of people that listen to Redcon 1 music are not active duty service members, not by a long shot. The majority of our listeners are veterans, right? Who feel that void of no longer being, they miss the camaraderie. You have a lot of, you know, moms, wives, you know, daughters of a veteran that this music is better able to explain to them what we go through than what sometimes their father, grandfather, whatever can do in words. You know, so our following is not necessarily the guys out there fucking kicking doors down. You know, most of the time those guys won't listen to us or really get into us until after they get out and they go through those trials and tribulations.
I can see
but
that.
our
I
job,
can see how they would kind of think too. Like, you know, that's kind of corny. I don't know why they're doing that. Like, hey, you just don't understand because you ain't on this side yet.
yeah, and that's what it is. And it used to piss me off, like the negative stuff, right? Like at the time, like stolen valor was a big issue, right? That if you remember, it was freshly, it was brand new that it became illegal, right? Before there was nothing, there was no law against stolen valor whatsoever. So it was rampant. But addressing all those negative things all the time, right? Like you said, and me at the time being in, you know, whatever 13 years or whatever, I would feel some kind of way when I would see, you know, some guy that maybe did 3 or 4 years during a non-war time, right? And this is me being like I said, over here on this side, right? This is the old me, would get pissed off. This guy did 3 or 4 years. He never fucking did any fucking combat, and he was a fucking, you know, a water dog, you know, and he's over here talking about PTSD and blah blah blah. Which many veterans, right, go down that you know, that way of thinking, and that was me at some point, right? So I would like talk about it and address it, and what Jeff said is like, look, we represent something. It's not our job to point that out. That everybody knows that's an issue. Every veteran already feels that way about somebody. If you go to the VFW, right, 9 times and I don't want to generalize every VFW, but most people, when you're in uniform out there, you know, getting some and in the service, you know that if you go to a VFW somewhere, chances are every person in there is going to say that they were a major or above or a first sergeant or above, right? Yeah. And if you really want to dig down on it, right, if you really want to, and it's that important to you, you can find out that that guy was drafted, you know, you know, was out there in Vietnam.
Oh man,
What was that?
Dropped out.
He dropped?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it.
Oh.
Hold on. I think you fell out.
Hello, hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, so like I said, if it's that important to you, you can find out that this guy isn't sorry, and he only served 2.5 years or whatever. But is that how important is that compared to the issue that we're really trying to solve, right? At the end of the day, if that guy went to Vietnam for 2.5 years and survived it, that dude saw some shit. And we complain about the VA now. It was damn near non-existent getting any kind of compensation for what war fucked you up back then, right? Yeah. So that's not the important issue that we need to address, even though it might be an issue, but now we're just being petty, right? We're just being petty between you and I. You know, my shit, you know, mine doesn't stink, your does kind of shit. If we're addressing those types of things, we're not against each other as veterans. We're supposed to help each other. So, well, yes, I do agree that, but and then there's levels to it, right? Because like I said, I did Iraq, I did Afghanistan, 2 tours on the drill field, not just the one that I spoke about. I had to do a second one in Parris Island on the other coast. So I actually did 5 years as a fucking drill instructor. So all this stuff that I've done, always going to be somebody that did more. And who is he to sit there and tell me, like, who is he to sit there and tell me, like, oh, well, you didn't make it to sergeant major, and you weren't a fucking 03, you weren't a grunt. So shut the fuck up. You shouldn't have PTSD. There's somebody putting you down, right? And you're not gonna like it. You're gonna be like, dude, who the fuck are you to, like, I signed the motherfucking contract and I was down to do whatever the fuck they told me. Or, you know, even some grunts like, oh, you went to fucking Iraq in 2007, you pussy. I was there 03 in Fallujah when the real shit, like, you know what I mean? It never ends. It never ends. So we shouldn't be that way. We should be there for each other, because we're the understand. To civilians, they might look at you and thank you for your service and stuff like that. But if they see us sitting there, oh, you weren't shit because you weren't a fucking grunt, you weren't shit because you joined after fucking we pulled out of Afghanistan, blah, 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 then that civilian's going to walk away saying, oh, well, I have so much respect for those guys, but they're just a bunch of little bickering little assholes. And both those guys didn't do shit. Apparently, they know what they're talking about, and they're saying that each other didn't do shit. You know what I mean? That's counterproductive to what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah, I think you're making a great point too. Because I'm not gonna lie, you know, I was the same way a little bit, you know, a little arrogant. I'm an infantry guy. I was 11 Bravo, and so we all say those things, and it's not until you get some humbling or you kind of grow up a little bit when you can actually realize that I'm on that same field. You guys, I know everybody. I know I needed someone somewhere, and I know I'll fuck up plenty of times.
Mhm.
When I look back at it, I'm like, I could have made better choices then. But I can't change that. I can do what I'm doing now and make it better, and then hopefully,
Absolutely.
create that change. Because exactly what you're saying, like, you know what, I can't, I'm not gonna be part of that, but I can tell you that in this community here in Houston, we've got some fantastic folks doing some amazing things, and nobody. I don't ever really ask anybody, what was your MOS, or
Yeah.
what awards did you get, because none of that shit matters anymore.
No,
It matters
Correct.
what you're in.
Correct.
It just doesn't
And
matter
and
that
and
much anymore.
and that kind of speaks to the times and the progress we've made, right? But
Yeah.
like I was saying, back then,
yeah,
that was not the norm, right?
Yeah,
That was
that's right.
not the norm. And unfortunately, right, we got to a point where you had, especially now, right? It sucks for these guys that joined after we pulled out of Afghanistan. Well, shit, they're about to stop giving out, or not giving out. They're about to stop. The National Defense Ribbon is about
Oh,
to.
Wow.
that was real. I read that somewhere. I didn't know that. I didn't think that was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, why would it continue? Are we at war? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's for people who served during a wartime, right? And I mean, it's always arguably what constitutes, but at some point it's got to stop, right? Just like before 9/11, nobody was getting it, right? It wasn't until we went to war that became a thing. So now you're gonna have some guy that joins literally a month after they stop, issuing that out, and 3 years down the road, this guy could be fucking stellar. One of the best leaders you've ever fucking seen. A peachy stud, fucking smart, fucking, great character, great, all the intangibles are in line. This dude, whatever, raising a farm in the Midwest, going to church every Sunday, whatever. A fucking great guy. Meritoriously promoted to sergeant. And then he's going to go look at some fucking E3 that's been in 4 years, hasn't got promoted, but happened to join when a month before him, and he's gonna look at him like he ain't shit just because of that fucking little ribbon.
Yeah.
We were experiencing a lot of that, in the past few years from people who did get to go to Iraq or Afghanistan, and people who just, maybe they joined, they went to a unit, they didn't go out there, and then by the time they got orders to the other side, now their unit went out there and they missed it, and then they went and did a special duty assignment, went and did a Marine security guard or whatever, drill instructor duty, recruiting duty, something, and for 3 years, and now they're at E6 staff and CO, have no combat tours, and they're in charge. They're in charge of leading Marines who have multiple combat tours, and the immaturity of those Marines is gonna come in play, and they're gonna.
And it is true. I mean, I remember when I joined in 2005, and just the how idolized that combat patch was, right? And then how you got looked at differently because you didn't have one. And now, obviously, you go and you do your time, and you're like, it's one of the things we all talk about and we have in common. But to put it in perspective, there's guys that are joining now, and there's probably folks that are getting out now that have done their 4 or 5 years and haven't had any deployments at all. And it's like, why should they be looked at any different? That has nothing to do with their timing. Sorry, they were born on the wrong day, or the parents would have sex at the right time.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. It's crazy. I didn't think about it that way.
And I think that ties into one of the things that we were talking about before about, old core, new core, and stuff like that, right? You asked me, and you told me to hold off on answering until we were on here, so I'll answer it now. Basically, what you asked me was what I've seen in the difference in the type of Marines or the quality of Marines over 20 years, something to that effect. And I'll tell you, yes, it has changed. Everything changes. That's just how it is. If the Marine Corps wasn't able to change over the years, we would be obsolete, right? Especially the Marine Corps, because America does not need a Marine Corps. That's just the hard matter truth. America does not need a Marine Corps. They want a Marine Corps. But we have the Army, we have the Air Force, we have the Navy. Everything's covered, right? The Marines do things a little bit different, but they're not necessary.
I've never heard no Marine say that before.
No, but
Marines,
I love.
Marines,
I think I like where you're going.
Marines say that Marines say that all the time. That we just don't say it to other people, right? But it's true. It's a conversation that comes up a lot within the Corps because we know it, right? So the Marine Corps has to be able to change, right? Adapt and overcome and everything. And the Marine Corps in every service, at the end of the day, is a reflection of society, right? So the way that I look at it is somebody in uniform, no matter what service they decided to join, they are a cut above compared to what you see outside those gates, but they're still a reflection of that society, right? Right now we're complaining about these young kids who are antisocial. All they want to do is be on TikTok and play video games and whatever. But I mean, 10 years ago, even beyond that, 15 years ago, we were getting guys coming in, joining the infantry because of Halo, because of because of what's that? I'm not a gamer. What's the other one? Call of Duty, right?
Call of Duty,
yeah. That's not a new problem. It's just it's morphed into something a little bit different, but it's the same shit, right? And then if you go back 20 years before that, there was Marines who were my age, 40-year-old Marines looking at 20-year-old Marines, bitching at them because they grew up watching TV every day, staying inside watching TV. I have to go outside and play and fucking and hunt and blah blah blah. So it never changes, right? So I always tell guys my age, my peer group, when they complain about the new Marines, I tell them when you and I were new Marines, there was guys that were 40 years old saying that we were pussies. And then 20 years before that, there was guys saying that they were pussies. That's never changed. That's always been the same. And again, it's a reflection of society, right? We think our kids have it easy. We think our kids are so fucking spoiled and have it easy. But what did our parents think about us?
Yeah.
Same shit. They would just preach to us about how we don't do shit and we have it so easy and blah, blah, blah. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. And it's fine, right? You're trying to make a point, it's fine, but you need to keep it in perspective and realize that and look at the other side, right? Like I said, I always look for balance, right? The balance to me is that when I went through boot camp, I can think of, I don't know, just as an example, what we called a prac, which is basically the knowledge stuff, right? General orders and the written test stuff that we had to learn in boot camp. 6 years later, I go back to be a drill instructor and realize that I have to teach them this stuff now. And I realized, wait a minute, these little fuckers have to learn twice as much as I did when I was here. I thought I came here ready to teach it to them because I passed it back then and I've never forgotten it. But now you're adding more shit I got to teach them. Let me see this test. Holy shit, the test got twice as big from when my dumbass went through boot camp, right? And that was in 2008. Fast forward 2016, I go to be a drill instructor again, and take a wild guess what's happened. Even more.
Yeah.
Even more. The training schedule is even more condensed, so you have to be even more efficient at using your time, and they have to cram so much more shit in there and blah, 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 like all this stuff, right? So yes, it's gotten softer in some ways, but it's gotten a lot harder in other ways. Back in the day, like if I tell you that in boot camp, I think I forget what the numbers are, right? But it's a weird number where it's like in boot camp total actual running in the PT program for Marine boot camp, I want to say it was something like 31 miles total in 3 months of training. And actually, I want to say it was less than that. Anyways, the number of miles they actually run for PT is crazy to think about that it's that low. Because if you look back 20, 30 years, they used to run till the cows came home. That was their PT, right? They weren't doing any of the functional fitness and any of the other stuff that they're doing, that we're doing now, that's based off science and off studies. And guess what the outcome is, right? Marines back there were harder, but if you pull up PT scores from 20 years ago, these kids nowadays are in so much better shape.
Yeah. And today I was at a luncheon for Chef Irvine, right? And who's a British Marine or British Navy, whatever he was. I can't remember at the time, but he does Restaurant Impossible. And he was talking about how now he's been working with the Pentagon and the Department of Defense to change the nutrition, to change what they're eating to make it more effective. Yep. Because you'll have a sleepy Marine or someone in the Army that's sleepy because they missed chow or because they didn't do it because they didn't like the way the food tastes, or it's not providing the value of it. Well, guess what? Now we're getting better at that, which is, again, it's a testament to the times that we're in.
Yeah. So and with Chow, like for Sodexo or whatever company is used at the time, there's civilian companies, they have a contract, they get paid a certain amount per person, right? Whatever that is, they get paid whether you go eat there or not, right? So all these dudes in the barracks that their rate 3 squares a day, do they really go there 3 times a day? No. They'll skip one and get some ramen noodles. They'll eat pizza here and there because the chow hall food gets tiring. It's not that bad, but it's repetitive, and compared to a church's chicken, the chicken you get there is horrible, right? But those guys get paid a certain amount per head, right? Guess what happened during COVID? These guys were not allowed to order food. They couldn't go off base, right? They were restricted to base. When COVID popped off, they had to be in the room or at work. Nothing was open out in town. Everything got shut down, right? So these guys now had to go eat there 3 times a day. There was no other option. Well, guess what happened? These companies, they couldn't feed everybody. They couldn't keep up. So I found out I had Marines going over there, and if you saw their plate, you would think they're going to some fucking soup kitchen somewhere for bums, because the company isn't efficient enough to actually spend the whatever it is, right? $5, $6 per meal per person. They're not organized enough to make those numbers work. They're working off of, we have a contract to feed, let's say as an example, 100,000 Marines, but we know that we're only going to get about 65,000 here on any given day. So they're making this much food, they're making this much money. Now they're in a situation where that same amount of money actually has to feed all the people they're contracted to feed, and it's not working out. So at that time, these Marines were getting fed. They weren't getting enough food. It was horrible. Right? Now that's a different issue than the nutrition issue, but it just goes to show you that the people making the decisions, like I was mad at myself. It took me about 3-4 weeks before I found out about this. And then I started asking Marines and found out this has been going on for weeks, almost a month, before I literally walked in to, I was, at the time I was the unit motorcycle club president. So I had to report to the CO numbers and stuff like that every month. Well, I took that opportunity to talk to the CO and tell him about this. Every person that stood duty, I told them to put in the duty, in the logbook and everything. But all that stuff takes so much time to get to the man. And I just had the opportunity to like bring it up. And I didn't just bring it up to him because he was the commanding officer of my unit. I asked him, and then I asked the sergeant major to please elevate it immediatly. Sergeant major had me do the paperwork, right? Because he's busy. But I don't mind, all it takes is his signature to get it pushed up, but those are the type of things that you're right, but you have to have that open mind to really, to get out of like, oh, because what would an old head say, right? If we're one of those old heads back in my day type of guys, say, well, shit, back in my day, we got beans and rice every day, and we still were out here fucking humping 30 miles a day. Fuck that. Fuck all of that. You know what I mean? That's not what I want for my Marines. I want to train my Marines the right way, make, nutrition, everything on point. The day that they have to do that, I have faith that my Marines would go fucking, hump 30 miles a day on rice and beans if they had to protect this nation. That's what they signed up to do, right? But that doesn't mean that we just have to make them live that way on any given day just to prove that we're harder, because back in my day, fuck that. Fuck that. That's the dumbest shit ever.
Nah, I never thought about that. I'll be completely honest. And I'm sure that was happening military wide. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I gotta ask. So one of the things that I try to make sure I do is highlight what is possible post-military, right? And I try to get some of the recruiters or the folks in the mind. And my thought is, if we could get the veteran story out more, then folks will know what it's like once you transition, that there is success out here. They say they do a little bit of that now, but let me ask you, what do you think is a benefit of joining now that you've been out? Like, what have you gained? Or how do we sell that again to these recruits? Because for 9/11, folks joined because they wanted to serve. We saw the towers go down. You had firefighters, you had police people joining, right? COVID went down. You saw the numbers and nurses and medical professions go up, right? We don't really have anything now that's a call to action. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's hard to sell, and recruiters know this, right? It's called a whiff 'em, right? What's in it for me? They will always inject that, right? But us as service members, even if we join for the whiff 'em, right? Like what's in it for me, whether it's college money or whatever, um, we eventually join, and we don't go around saying that. And when you tell yourself things in enough times, you believe it. So we forget all of that, and we just stick to our story of I wanted to serve and blah blah blah, right? Including myself. You heard my story today. But at the end of the day, right, it's very true that we had Fort Bliss right down in El Paso, Texas, not too far from where I grew up, and we had been in JROTC time and time again. Every year, seniors would graduate. Many of them would join the military, and it was very customary for ROTC students to come back and speak to the class and tell them about the military. And most of them, dude, you remember that guy was fucking, fat or whatever, a fucking geek, didn't dress well, whatever. And now this guy shows up and he's fucking standing straight and his clothes look sharp and he's got a nice fucking haircut and he carries himself well. He's got this confidence about himself speaking to the class where before you couldn't get him to sound off or do anything. And then, when you go talk to him a little bit, he drives off in his fucking, in his Camaro that he bought with 30% APR or whatever. But to a high school kid, that's impressionable, right? And like I said, my recruiters, fucking in shape, fucking clean cut, all the confidence in the world. They walked around like their dick was, 2 feet long or something. So that was still part of what attracted me to wanting this lifestyle. I mean, that's the truth, and I don't think that's changed. In a sense, it hasn't changed. The specific of what we idolize has changed, right? So to answer your question, the disconnect is the military needs to do a better job at understanding the youth and what's important to them, right? What is important to them? I can't even fucking tell you that. I can't even tell you how many kids that I coached. I did a little bit of baseball and soccer and stuff, coaching, assistant coach. I would help out, but those kids remember you forever when you coach any kind of sport. And I would see these kids that just had a bright future in front of them, and then to see them now, and some of them they've been out of high school for a year, and they've only had a job for 2 or 3 months. They're perfectly content not having a car, living at home, not having any money. That was not us. You know what I mean? Our generation was quite the opposite. As soon as you could get a driver's license, you want to be behind the wheel. As soon as you could get a job, you wanted to fucking get some money for yourself. And I don't understand it, right? But
I got a 23-year-old sister that's still at home, and I'm like, man, move. I'd have been out a long time ago. But we're 13 months apart.
I would have stayed home until they kicked me out.
I can believe that.
Stack money.
I do believe that. Well, now you say that. So the reason I bring this up is because one of the things
you say that now because you're older, but at that age you wouldn't have stacked money.
You're right.
No, I think one of the things I bring this up is because I think there's a call for veterans to do more on our part, right? Like the military is doing what they can, and again, they're in. So the only thing they can show you is what it's like to be in. So I think it's on us as a veterans to self-identify, make sure they know that you're a veteran. And I suck at that, when I'm in this type of setting. Granted, we'll talk about veteran stuff, but when I'm out in the open, I don't really say that I'm a veteran. So self-identify, let them know. And the other thing too is everybody's really interested in entrepreneurship. Everybody thinks they can build a business. Let me tell you what, who can build a business? A veteran.
Fuck yeah.
A veteran can build a business because we have been through adversity. We know what it's like to be disciplined. We want to help others. We're mission driven. And how do you get those skills? By joining the military. So for me, one of the things that I'm trying to take on, one of the passions that which is why I'm part of the chamber and all that, is because I want veterans to get into business. And if you're not a veteran, I do want you to get in business. I hope you succeed. But I think there is a path for you to go join the military, learn some skills, those things the intangible things, the soft skills, and then you can start a business and you will have some, a foundation for that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And the I guess the gap there is this. You advocating for veterans to start their own business is great. They have the tools and they just lack the confidence. I don't want to say they don't have confidence, but in the military you get pumped up about many things, but they're all military related, right? They train us for war, but not life after it, right? It's one of our songs. So for those guys, they need somebody to tell them, like, no, like the hardest part is for a guy that gets out, whether he did 4 years or 20 years, and write a resume. Why? Because in the military, we get taught to be humble to a certain point where we say, well, what'd you do in the military? And you say, oh, well, I was just infantry. Well, I was, you know, when we talk to civilians, we don't do that when we talk to other veterans. When we talk to civilians, we say, oh, well, I was just infantry. I was just a machine gunner. I was just like, we downplay what we did. You know, we totally downplay when in reality, a 22-year-old in the military carries so much more responsibility than his peers that didn't join. Mm-hmm. Right. But when he gets out, because that guy has been working for McDonald's for 4 years and maybe now he's a shift manager. If I go work there, I'm going to be flipping fries or flipping burgers or, you know, frying fries. I feel like I'm less. It's hard for me to see that I can run circles around this guy. It's just going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to take me 4 years to be where he is with the tools that I have. I'm going to be his boss in about 6 months if I wanted to, right? But nobody tells them that. That's not how we get, that's not ingrained in us. We get all the confidence to do what we need to do in uniform, right? So getting veterans to be entrepreneurs is a great thing. However, the gap is still, you were saying, how do we get like recruiters to translate that to the youth? I don't think it directly translates, because the reason young people are they all want to be entrepreneurs is why? Because every entrepreneur influencer, right? That's what they're looking at. They're not looking at somebody that did it the hard way. They're looking at influencers who make it look easy, right? So they don't understand the military is going to give you the skills, the hard skills you're going to need, right? The personal growth and character, you know, build to actually run a business and create a business. They don't understand. They're not even looking at that. They want to be an entrepreneur because they're fucking 18 years old and they think that's the quickest way to not have to answer to anybody and fucking and have a bunch of money. Yeah. So telling them that the military is going to teach them these skills does not. They're like, wait, military is going to teach me hard work? I don't want to work hard. If I wanted to work hard, then I wouldn't want to be an entrepreneur. They believe that being an entrepreneur is easy.
Oh man.
You know, that's the disconnect there. You know, and then what I do think that, right, on that same subject, what I do think the military needs to be better at, and I don't, and it's hard because they would have to bring outsiders in to kind of translate, but we kind of push back on military influencers, right? I see it all the time. I have a lot of friends and the people that are influencers, right? Like service members on Instagram and stuff like that, they get fucking roasted up and down by other service members.
I've seen it.
And veterans. Although they have a huge following, that following is not typically many veterans. Again, it's moms, sisters, wives, people who, you know, the I was going to join, but I had asthma. The I wanted to join. I really respect my whole family's military, but you know, I couldn't join. For those are the people that will follow them to the end of the world, right? And again, I relate to that because that's how Redcon 1 was very much. So many followers that were high school kids. They would idolize everything we were doing and would be honored that we answered their questions. They would call and say, hey, I plan on joining in 2 years. What should I do to get ready for boot camp? Not expecting an answer because they see me as like some, you know, social media influencer. So when I tell them, hey kid, you have a lot of time. At 2-year mark, just don't get in trouble. That's your biggest thing. Get your grades, don't get in trouble. Talk to me again in about a year and I'll tell you what you need to start doing, which will probably be just like getting out there and running and doing some push-ups. You know, just the fact that I answer them, they're like, oh my God, J-Deuce, you answered me. Dude, I'm just a guy. But they idolize, you know, social media influencer so much. And I don't consider myself an influencer, not to the level, not like there is some now. But those guys would be key. If the military was smart, they would take those guys, right? Those guys that make being a veteran fucking sexy and fucking cool and blah, 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 and pay those guys to clean it up a little bit and use that social media to fucking make being a veteran cool to those kids. We would have motherfuckers knocking the door down at the recruiters if they did that. But it's a hard thing to do. It sounds great, but it's hard. How do you get, General whoever the fuck who's fucking 90 years old or whatever at the Pentagon to understand this? It's hard. It's such a gap in generations, right? Because the thing about technology and the thing about modern times is back in the days, 200-300 years ago, the difference between your generation and your kids and your parents was very slow because things didn't progress as fast as they do now. Right now, there is a generation in between me and my kids, right? If my kid's 20 years younger than me, there's a generation that's 10 years younger than me who is different from me and different from my kids because things change so much. So now you think about a general and a high school kid now, there is fucking like 5-6 generations in between. So it's hard to even speak the same language.
Man, I never thought about it that way, but that fucking makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go to try to teach this general and give him this, but he'd be like, back in my day.
Yeah, because we feel that it compromises the intangibles to do it that way, right? Yeah. But the smartest people in the room, right, meaning people who pay millions of dollars for a Pepsi commercial during the Super Bowl, they understand this very well. And they don't get stuck in back in my day. They know what works now and they do it fucking very well. Right? Yeah. Some of those people need to fucking and it doesn't I don't think it sacrifices the intangibles. I think it's just the intangibles and what's important in those character things. We teach those in boot camp. We ingrain those in our culture. We just need them to come in and not, we need to be able to screen, the psychos and the weirdos and people who were just fucked up and raised the wrong way. They just need to have a clean slate. They don't need to come. Nobody needs to join the military and already be a fucking hero at heart and shit. They don't. And I can tell you, again, 5 years of training recruits, the guy that would show up on day one, gung-ho as fuck, yes, sir, blah, 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 fucking high school quarterback and blah, blah, like eager to fucking impress his drill instructors. Those guys typically burnt out, or they were the guy in boot camp or a squad leader in boot camp and then got fucking kicked out for fucking smoking spice a year later. Many times, too many times. The guy that was quiet in the back, learning, doing what GP, general population, doing what he needed to do, but he got his, he got fucked up here and there for making a mistake like they all do, but it was never him trying to do something. Just humble guy, just went through the motions and learned what he needed to learn and then built on that over the years. Those are the guys that turn out to be fucking superstars. Most sergeants majors and shit like that, they'll tell you, most of them, their story is that in boot camp, they were just trying to make it by. They weren't anybody fucking special, So why are we trying to put our recruiting efforts into finding those superstars? We don't. We need a clean slate. We need somebody who's open to learn. We need somebody who looks forward to the experience. And like you said, the experience not just being when you're in, but even after, right? And those social media influencers can do that. They come in with a clean slate and they're thinking long-term. They're no longer thinking of, I'm going to join and I'm going to have a Camaro next year and a girlfriend, right? I was telling fucking a geek and blues. Like I would tell my recruits, you're probably back home, little Susie didn't fucking want to talk to you and shit like that, but you're going to go back and you're dressed blues and she's going to want to talk to you. You're still a fucking geek. You just have dress blues now, They will no longer join like I did, thinking of that short-term return. They're not thinking long-term. And I think that's something that I wish I would have came in with that mentality, right? But that's not how I got recruited. I got recruited off the short term, like I'm going to fucking look good and short haircut and nice car and blah, blah, blah.
J-Deuce, brother, you got to come back on. We want to have you back on another show.
Absolutely, man.
And we'll make it happen. We want to learn more about what else you're doing, man. We've been on the air for about 2 hours right now.
Oh, shit.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, so we got to get him home before he gets grounded.
I don't sleep until 7. I get up at 4:55 now.
Hey, good for you, not me.
Yeah, man. I'm usually in bed by like 9:30.
My brother, so we appreciate you coming on the show, bro. Definitely, man. Thank you for spitting all this knowledge, man. It's definitely once we release the podcast, we're gonna throw in all your how to reach you. But what is the best way for someone to reach you if they wanted to right now?
Honestly, go to Google and put Jerry Lozano Realtor, and all my shit's gonna pop up. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. It's all gonna pop up. I'm everywhere. So, you know,
OnlyFans?
my OnlyFans is Jerry Lozano Thick.
He said that shit quick as fuck. Don't go looking it up, y'all.
I'm witty, man. I'm witty. But
down.
yeah. I mean, and for everybody out there, man. I know we're out of time and we didn't get to it, but yeah, there's it's the grass is actually greener on the other side. You can once you've been a service member, everything else is easy. It's just that the Marine Corps gives you the structure and gives you the steps you need to take. You just have to take them. When you get out, nobody gives you those steps. You kind of got to find them on your own. That's the scary part for us. But you have the ability and the strength to do whatever you want to do. So go for it, man. You'll be happy you did. All right. And if you need any help from me in any shape, way, or form, if you ever put on any of these uniforms, then you're my brother. So don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here.
Man, that's what's up. Hey, you guys, thank you for tuning in. As always, man, I'm sorry. Do you have something to say?
I always got something to say, but it's okay, brother.
Oh, okay. So be sure to like, share, subscribe. Be sure to follow J-Deuce on all his platforms at Jerry Lozano Realtor, and you'll find them all.
That's right.
You guess so?
No, I got nothing, brother. This has been a great show. We really appreciate you, J-Deuce. I mean, this has been awesome. The only things I can okay, so I do have something. So the big takeaways that I can give you to wrap this all up before we say goodbye is take advantage of the resources available to you. SkillBridge is one of them. It's a place for you to start to consider, hey, you know what, that transition point. Because we may enlist for 4 years, but you should be thinking what's going to happen after that. Do what you got to do today, but think what's going on. There's a lot of ways to build character. Make sure you're taking advantage of them. And know that the grass is greener on the other side.
J-Deuce, we appreciate you, brother.
Anytime, man. We'll do it again sometime. It's fun.
As always, Charlie Mike.